Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
India's focus on renewable energy is paying off. We added 10,000 megawatts of solar capacity in 2017-18, almost twice the increase we saw in the previous year. Solar tariffs have hit a record low of 2.44 rupees per unit, making it comparable to thermal power. While India's current solar capacity stands at 20 gigawatts, the government believes it is on course to meet the ambitious target of 100 gigawatts of solar capacity by 2022. Now, here's some interesting trivia. In 2017-18, Telangana and Karnataka installed over 2 gigawatts each and accounted for almost 50% of all installations across the country. But there are some headwinds the industry will have to contend with. Higher import duties, the poor health of discoms and the uncertainty over tax treatment could hurt the solar mission. So what needs to be done to keep the momentum going? That's the question we're asking today as we take stock of the mega solar push by the Modi administration. Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18. I'm Shireen Bhan. Joining me on the program today, Rahul Munjal, Managing Director at Hero Future Energies, Priyadarshini Sanjay, Managing Director at Mercom India, and Kuljit Singh, Partner Transaction Advisory Services, Infrastructure, Industrial and Consumer at EY India. Appreciate you joining us here on the show. Rahul, let me start by asking you, and since we're talking about EY, India's global rank on the EY Renewable Energy Country Attractiveness Index has increased from number 6 in September 2014 to number 2 in October 2017. So we're just behind China. So clearly there has been significant momentum. Clearly there is enough thrust on the solar mission. What are the big challenges today?
So, you have to see the challenges in perspective. There are challenges, of course. You live in India. There's challenges in every sector. India's 100th in ease of doing business, right?
Yes.
So are we 100th in ease of doing business in renewables? Absolutely not. Are they challenges of the macro kind or the micro kind? Macros are all sorted.
Okay.
The 175 gigawatt plan that the government has in place, when he announced that plan, it looked really ambitious. But today, if you ask me, will the plan be met? For sure, it'll be met. Do we have challenges? For sure. 95% of the problems that we have in renewables are in land and land acquisition.
Okay.
While only 5 or 10% of the value of a megawatt of energy produced is in land. So the process, there are problems. The problems are in land. They are minor grassroots level problems, but there are no structural problems.
Okay, so you're saying that the micros concern you more than the macros today. Let me ask you now, because we pointed out what the EY Attractiveness Index on renewables says about India. I talked specifically about some of the headwinds. Rahul just alluded to land acquisition as being one of the most significant challenges. What about tariffs? Because there are concerns that at 2.44, is this viable or not? And are we going to end up going down the same road that we have seen, for instance, as far as thermal is concerned today?
So as far as tariffs are concerned, the jury is still out there on whether 244 or even 260 is kind of a viable tariff. I would say that historically the experience has been that whenever people have said that some bidder has bid very aggressively, the actual experience on the ground has been that that bidder has actually made money on the bet that he took on the tariff.
Okay, so you're saying they will make money on 2.6 or 2.4?
No. Now what has happened is, historically, that has been the case, but now, unfortunately, the module pricing trend has reversed. Earlier, it was consistently declining. Now it has increased.
Okay.
Because
so
of
what's the kind of increase that we've seen in the module pricing? And if you can explain for the benefit of our lay viewers, what does it mean?
So basically, essentially what has happened is, earlier, people used to assume that the module prices are going to drop maybe 10 to 15% from the levels that they were prevalent, and they used to bid accordingly. Now, unfortunately, when they made the same bet, the module prices have increased.
Okay.
So suddenly, their bids are off by 10 to 15%.
Okay.
Which means this money either comes out of their return or it comes out in some other way. So the project.
What is the other way? What is the other way? Where is this money going to come from, Rahul Munjal?
Yeah, so let me just clarify on what Kuljit is saying. The prices have increased, but the incremental price is only for a short duration.
Okay.
So if you were to import panels in the first quarter of this year, because that's when the panels were needed in China, in the US, in Europe, everybody was going for the same panels.
Okay.
So if you change your delivery, the prices then either are the same, they've probably not increased, but they've definitely not gone down.
Okay.
So for a certain period of time, the prices have increased, so you can say, but that's not for delivery late in this year or next year.
Okay, so, you know, many caveats there. The jury is still out and so on and so forth. But given what we are seeing in terms of the module pricing trends, are these prices, are these tariffs viable?
Yeah. Okay, so let me play a devil's advocate and let me agree with Kujit. It's not only the prices of panels.
Yes.
Even the interest rates are going up.
Yeah.
You know, so the interest rates we had factored in our business plans when we were bidding for the previous bids earlier in the year are different from what we are factoring in now.
Okay.
You know, because now we feel the interest rates are going to harden going forward.
Okay.
So the prices, we've seen the lowest prices of solar tariffs come and go. And I think in the coming bids...
So we're not going to see record lows being created any longer. So we're not going to go lower than what we've seen, whether it's 2.6 or 2.4. Is that the point that you're making, Rahul?
I hope we don't. At least they're not going to come out of my office.
Okay, I hope we don't. Priyadarshini, let me come across to you. We've discussed about some of the headwinds now, and you know, whether it is the safeguard duty, it is the uncertainty as far as tax treatment is concerned, those are factors that could also act as impediments. How worried are you, and what is it that you expect in terms of clarification or at least clarity from the government?
Yeah, I think both of them have mentioned about the challenges, both of them. Again, one is a market challenge, that is the price of the modules itself going up against the predictions. But right now, the biggest challenge is uncertainty. Uncertainty regarding whether the anti-dumping duty will come into place, the safeguard duty, which is 70%, that's a huge duty. And of course, the customs duty that is already being levied.
Yeah.
So these are the challenges, on the ground right now, and that is the reason why much of the auctions are not seeing very good participation, or are being cancelled or postponed. The other thing is, again, the reluctance of the discoms itself to buy power at anything not low, than the lowest price that is available, but which is not actually practical, because each state the solar irradiation is different, each state the challenges are different.
Okay.
So again, the reluctance of the discoms itself not being able to buy solar at a better price is a challenge.
Okay.
And the other biggest challenge is the PPA renegotiation itself. Because if a legal contract is being contested, then where is the certainty? How will the lenders lend? What is the risk that they will factor into each of these transactions? So these are the issues right now which need clarity.
Several issues that you've raised there in terms of the possible headwinds, including PPA renegotiations, reluctance of discoms to sign perhaps at viable rates, and of course the anti-dumping possibility. Rahul, how significant, and let's just talk about the anti-dumping part, because we know that while India is trying to install domestic manufacturing capacity, how big a challenge is this if this were to go through?
So let me just give you a little bit of background. You know, if India is going to import 100 gigawatts of solar panels, it just makes sense to have solar manufacturing here. You know, you need to create that industry. And so to create that industry, China has gone far ahead. Today, 85% of the modules in the world are manufactured in China. So if we were to create that industry, we have to give it some form of subsidy or a duty. Having said that, let me correct what my co-panelist was saying. The new SECI tenders, if you see them, the way they are worded, if there is, if and when there is a safeguard duty or an anti-dumping duty, there will be a pass-through.
Okay.
So most of that has been addressed.
Factored
in the most recent bids.
Okay. Okay. So you're saying that the safeguard aspect, as and when it is decided upon, and if it were to come through, that will work as a pass-through. At least that is the clarification that you have got from
in
the
center, in the SECI bids. In some of the state bids, that might not be true, but in the SECI bids, that has come through.
Okay. All right. Kujit, let me ask you now on the other issue that Priyadarshini raised, and that is as far as the credit profile of discoms, as well as this business of tariffs and what they are going to be able to ink the PPAs at. How much of a risk is that?
See, as far as the credit risk is concerned, that is genuinely a risk, because ultimately the money is coming from the distribution companies which are owned by the state governments. And those distribution companies have not been performing efficiently for many, many decades now. And there is no plan that we see from the government side in trying to improve the efficiency by changing the ownership. So DISCOMs are what they are and they will remain what they are.
And Uday hasn't helped.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
So now, keeping in view that DISCOMs will remain in the state government, there are a couple of things which the government can do. One is that they can give support from SECI and NTPC, which can act as intermediaries to the various bids. The second thing is that there is this huge coal cess that gets collected on the sale of coal, which is
now being diverted towards the goods and services tax.
Our thinking is if that amount could be used for the renewable energy projects for which it was originally meant, that would address some of the credit risk perspective, because we don't think that the problem of distribution companies in the Indian context is going to go away in a hurry. That's not going to happen. So use the coal cess to give the necessary credit support in case there are delays of payments to the renewable energy players.
Okay, just again for the benefit of our viewers, not many of you may be familiar with the terms that we're throwing around. So SECI is the Solar Energy Corporation of India. Priyadarshini, on the issue of storage, because that again is going to be one of the critical aspects to look at when we talk about creating this ecosystem. What is the need of the hour today? Because SECI has, of course, called for expressions of interest in this matter as well.
I think, SECI has, shown interest. Their payment, payment guarantee mechanism is there. But still, even in terms of, SECI's contracts itself, again, we had issues where the NTPC itself was taking time to, sign power sale agreements with the, counter DISCOMs that the projects were in. So the ground reality is, of course, when you're talking about challenges like land acquisition, solar parks, are an answer to it. I mean, by far. Solar parks have been, a solution to that, even the power evacuation. But, the need of the hour is to have a visibility. What is it that the manufacturers or developers have to plan for the year? Are they going to see tenders of 20 gigawatt, which was the MNRE trajectory? That every year they will see 20 gigawatt of wind and solar project tenders every year. So there needs to be a visibility.
Okay, visibility on the roadmap.
The tenders have to be issued on that particular process that they have claimed. Okay,
Rahul, would you agree that there needs to be better visibility and clarity on the roadmap, especially when it comes to what's on offer from a tendering point of view?
Absolutely, absolutely. This minister, when he came in November, he said, I'm going to come out with 20,000 megawatt of tenders over the next 3 months. And he has brought out about 12,000 megawatts of that. And this is the greatest pipeline of tenders that we've seen coming out ever since the 175 gigawatt plan was announced.
Okay.
So I think as far as tenders coming and the pipeline coming, we're in a very healthy place right now. So I don't see a problem of complaining here. But going back to your earlier question of storage, and then I want to make 2 or 3 points. Electric vehicles are coming, right? You like it or not. Electric vehicles, if you run them on thermal energy, then there is no point. You need to run them on renewable energy. So you don't want to shift the burden. Now, electric vehicles need batteries. Are we going to start importing batteries from China the way we import solar panels? Or can we today create a battery ecosystem in the country is the question.
But the battery guys as well as the OEMs are saying till we have visibility on what your target is, which keeps changing every day, by the way. First you say we need a policy, then you say we don't need a policy. Each ministry can draw out its own action plan. And I think that is where the confusion lies, that how do you build capacity, how do you plan for capacity when you have no end in sight?
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. We need to understand which government department will champion this. The road and transportation champion wants to do it, MNRE wants to do it. So there is, it falls in a lot of buckets. We need to find out who the champion is and what the policy is. But this is the time to start investing in storage, in batteries, so we don't lose the race to China and Korea.
Kuljit, do you see that investment being made, as Rahul was pointing out? Or do you believe that investors are still wary because there isn't clarity in terms of demand?
See, investors are still
And what
wary.
role can the government play in demand creation?
See, I think one fundamental difference between India and China is that in China, a lot of government owned entities take the initiative to develop the market. In India, the expectation always is that the private sector will come in and make that investment. I think the private sector in India does not have that kind of a risk appetite if the demand is not clear to them.
Yeah.
So if government wants to develop the market, either they make the investment without giving visibility on the demand, or they give visibility on the demand and then expect the private sector to follow.
Right.
Unfortunately, in India, none of the two things sometimes happen.
Yeah.
There's no clarity on demand, and the government still thinks that the private sector will come in. I think that is a wrong expectation. Private sector is not here to take undue risk and not there to do social service to try to develop a sector, no matter how
Absolutely.
beneficial it may be for the society.
Absolutely.
That's the issue.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Rahul, let me now talk to you about what we can expect in this space in terms of M&A, in terms of possible IPOs, consolidation. What's the expectation as we move forward in 2018?
Yeah. So, in the previous government, the 5-year plan was 20 gigawatt, which went up to 175. So companies like ours, when we started off, for us, 1 gigawatt seemed like a really large number. And it seemed like a really large number back then. Today, we're sitting at almost 1.5 gigawatt. And a 2 gigawatt or a 3 gigawatt seems like doable in the next 2-3 years. So everybody's scale expectation has changed.
Okay.
Earlier, everybody wanted to get to 1 gigawatt to do an IPO. Today, everybody is rushing to a 2 or a 3 or a 4 gigawatt to do an IPO. And I think...
So at what point would it trigger one possibly from you?
I'm not sure yet. I wish I could answer that. But at some point, obviously...
But fundraising?
Fundraising is happening. We have IFC as an investor. If you see, there is a lot of foreign money today which is keen to come into the sector because it gives you scale. There is very few countries where you can go and invest $100, $200 million and create a 1 gigawatt platform in the course of 2 years. All you need to do is win 2 bids of 500 megawatts each, and you've created that. There is probably only 3 other countries in the world where you can do this. So there is a lot of pension fund money. There's a lot of other money which is available today to come into India to invest because they believe in India. They believe in the India renewable story.
Okay. Gurjeet, what's your expectation both in terms of fundraising as well as the possibility of seeing an IPO in this space, which we haven't seen in a few years now?
Yes. So I think this year will be a watershed year for renewable energy from 2 parameters. Firstly, you'll see a large number of IPOs happening. The large-scale portfolios which can stand on their own, which have a long-term vision, will go in for IPOs this year. The second thing that's going to happen is the large-scale portfolios which do not want to continue. You will see M&As of those portfolios, and all of those M&As are probably going to come to an end within 2018 calendar year itself. Thereafter, the action will shift towards accumulation of the small-time portfolios which exist, 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts. But if we're talking of sizable capacities, 500 megawatts and above, I think the action is going to be restricted to 2018, which is actually a great thing for India, because hopefully, once this action is through, you will find the entry of large-scale utilities from Europe, from Asia, from North America, which have actually not been so so active in the Indian space. And there is no reason why they should not be active in India when India is such a large market. Why should it be that you have a lot of platforms which are actually owned by financial investors, but you find that the strategic utilities, which are long-term investors, are actually not there in the market.
Okay.
So this aberration should change.
This aberration should be corrected. Priyadarshini, I'm going to end by asking you to give us the expectations from a state-wise performance. As I pointed out at the start of the show, it's Telangana and Karnataka that have emerged as the big movers in 2017, beating states like Rajasthan and Gujarat. What are you seeing now in terms of state-level performance as well as state-level initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, with the renewable purchase obligations being scaled up, the states themselves are bringing in policies to meet those renewable power obligations. So Telangana, because they had a huge pipeline which started way back 2 years back, now the installation has crossed 3 gigawatt. But the largest pipeline lies in Karnataka. Karnataka sits with a very huge pipeline, again followed by Andhra Pradesh and then Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, and we also have Madhya Pradesh which will commission a large number of projects, and Gujarat. Of course, Gujarat, we don't have any new projects coming up in solar. They have come out with a wind portfolio.
Right.
But states are doing their bit to come in, but the investors would like the counterparties to be either NTPC or SECI, because that much of risk is mitigated. So that, you will see a lot of activity in the sector. But these kind of uncertainties that are plaguing has to be clarified immediately. That's the need of the hour.
That is the need of the hour. Rahul, I'll end by asking you, we do have that 100 gigawatt target by 2022, which is what, a CAGR of over 50%. That's the kind of growth rate that's required. Doable?
India has doubled in capacity in the last 4 years. Every year it's doubled whatever it's done. So I think it's doable.
It's doable.
I think it's doable.
All right, gentlemen, and Priyadarshini, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us and giving us a status check of where things lie on the ground when it comes to the solar mission. From all of us here, for now, goodbye. Many thanks for watching.